After my wife died, my son-in-law sat down at my kitchen table with a stack of papers and said he wanted the house, the land, the savings, everything Carol and I had spent our whole lives building. My lawyer begged me to fight. I told him, give it all to them. Everyone around me thought I'd lost my mind. At the final meeting, I signed the papers. Neil smiled until the accountant turned pale when he read what was actually attached to every single asset. My name is Gerald Hartley. I'm 64 years old. I built houses for a living for 38 years in Nashville, Tennessee. I built the one I live in with my own 2 hands. This is my story. Carol and I got married when I was 42 and she was 40. People thought we were too old to start over. We didn't care. She'd been a CPA for 20 years by then, careful, methodical, the kind of woman who kept a paper trail on everything and double-checked every number before she signed her name to it. I was a contractor who'd spent his whole career pouring concrete and framing walls and solving problems with his hands. We were different people. We fit together anyway. We had 22 years. We built that house together, not just the structure, I mean everything inside it, the garden Carol kept in the backyard. The workshop I added off the garage in 2009, the kitchen we redid after our 10th anniversary because she finally admitted she'd always hated the layout. We had a life that made sense. She got sick in the fall. By March, she was gone. I don't talk about those months much. What I will say is that Lisa, our daughter, was there. She came up on weekends when she could. She called. She was trying. Neil, her husband, showed up for the funeral and said the right things and shook the right hands. He was good at that, always had been. 6 weeks after we buried Carol, Neil sat down at my kitchen table. He came with Lisa. He had a manila folder in his hand before he even took his coat off. I remember thinking that was strange that a man would walk into his father-in-law's house 6 weeks after the funeral with paperwork already organized and ready to go. Dad, he said. He called me that whenever he wanted something, we've been thinking about the estate. We want to help you simplify things while you're going through all this. Lisa sat beside him. She was quiet. She was always quiet when Neil was running a conversation. Neil opened the folder and walked me through it. The house, $450,000. The land parcel next to it, a piece Carol and I had held onto for 20 years thinking we'd build on it someday, $140,000. His idea was to restructure everything into a joint asset arrangement, said it would protect me from probate complications, save on estate taxes down the road. Said Carol would have wanted things handled cleanly. Then he slid a power of attorney form across the table. Limited authority, he said. Just so he could handle paperwork on my behalf. Make things easier during a hard time. He said it like it was nothing. Like it was the obvious next step. I looked at the form. I looked at Lisa. She gave me a small nod, not enthusiastic. Just a nod, like she'd already heard the pitch and decided it was fine. I signed it. I've been a contractor my whole life. I've signed thousands of documents. I know how to read a contract. But I was 3 months out from watching my wife die in a hospital bed, and the man across from me was my daughter's husband, and I was tired in a way I'd never been tired before. So I signed it and I told myself it was routine. 3 weeks later, I was cleaning out the garage. Carol's father had been a mechanic. When he passed, she'd kept his toolbox, an old Craftsman set, red metal, heavy enough to use as an anchor. It had been sitting on a shelf in the garage for 6 years. I'd finally decided to donate it, maybe to one of the guys on my old crew who could use the tools. When I lifted the lid, there was a USB drive sitting right on top of the wrenches, yellow sticky note taped to it, her handwriting. Gerald, watch this when you're alone. All of it. I love you. I stood in the garage for a long time. I don't know exactly how long. Then I went inside, sat down at the desk in the spare room and plugged it into the laptop. Carol had recorded herself. 6 video files. The first one was dated 14 months before she died. She was sitting at the desk in her home office, talking directly into the camera, calm, no drama. Just Carol, being Carol, organized and direct, and not wasting a single word. She said she'd started noticing things about Neil about 2 years earlier. Small things at first. The way he'd steered dinner conversation toward the house value, toward what we had saved, toward what things were worth. The way he'd ask questions that felt casual but weren't. She said she'd thought about talking to me, but she wasn't sure yet. So she did what any good accountant would do. She started keeping records. The second file was a screen recording. Carol had pulled Neil's financial history through a contact at her old accounting firm, someone she'd worked with for years and trusted completely. What she found wasn't complicated, it was just bad. Neil owed $180,000 across 3 creditors. 2 of them had already filed civil suits. His financial consulting business, the one he'd been talking up at family dinners for the past 4 years, had no active clients on record and hadn't filed a business tax return in 2 years. The office address he used on his website was a mail forwarding service in Brentwood. The 3rd file was a phone recording. Neil's voice. And another man I recognized, Norman Briggs, a private accountant Neil had introduced to us once at a dinner, maybe 3 years back. Pleasant enough guy, quiet, the kind of man you forget about as soon as he leaves the room. In the recording, Neil was explaining his plan, clear and specific. He was going to use the power of attorney to take out a line of credit against my house, $200,000. The funds would route through a shell LLC that Norman had set up for him. The LLC's name was Briggs Financial Group. Neil would use the money to pay off his creditors and front-load a commercial real estate deal he was already 4 months late entering. My house, the one I built, the one Carol picked out the kitchen tile for, he was going to borrow against it without my knowledge and use my name to do it. I sat at that desk for a long time after the 3rd file ended. The 4th file was financial statements. The 5th was a folder of emails between Neil and Norman, dates, wire amounts, instructions on how to structure the transfers so they wouldn't trigger a bank review. The 6th file was Carol again. She looked tired in this one. It was recorded about 6 weeks before she passed. She knew by then how things were going with her health. She looked straight into the camera and she spoke slowly. "Gerald, I don't know if you'll ever need any of this. Maybe I'm wrong about him. I hope I am. But if I'm not, everything you need is in this folder. I already called Howard Gaines. His number is in the documents. He knows to expect your call. I love you. Don't let them take what we built. Howard Gaines." There was a business card in the folder, tucked behind the USB sleeve. Estate attorney, licensed private investigator, office on Fessler's Lane. Carol had hired him herself 8 months before she died. I called him that same night. It was past 10. He picked up on the 3rd ring like he'd been expecting it. Howard's office looked exactly like the man, practical, no pretense. Mismatched chairs, a coffee maker on the credenza that had to be 15 years old, case files stacked in labeled piles on every flat surface. He was in his mid-60s, the kind of guy who'd spent his whole career in rooms where serious things got decided and had stopped being impressed by any of it. He already had a copy of everything on the USB. Carol had sent him the files months earlier as a backup. He also had something she hadn't put on the drive, a signed, notarized written statement dated 11 months before she died, detailing every concern she had about Neil. Witnessed by 2 people, legally sound. She wanted to make sure it would hold up, Howard said. She was thorough. He told me the POA could still be revoked. We had a window, but we needed to move quietly. If Neil found out, I knew before we had everything locked down, he'd find another way in. Over the next 3 weeks, Howard and a PI he worked with built the case from the ground up. They confirmed Neil's debt. It had actually grown since Carol's recording, now sitting closer to $195,000 after interest and legal fees. One creditor had escalated to a garnishment order. Norman Briggs had filed the LLC paperwork the same week Neil got me to sign the POA. The timing wasn't a coincidence. They pulled wire transfer records showing money moving between Neil's personal account and Briggs Financial Group. They documented 3 separate conversations recorded legally under Tennessee single-party consent law, where Neil discussed using my property as collateral without my knowledge. And they had Carol's notarized statement tying the whole picture together. What we didn't have yet was Neil saying it directly in front of a witness in a setting we could use in court. That part I had to set up myself. I called Neil on a Tuesday evening, about 3 weeks after I'd found the USB. I told him I'd been thinking. Said I was overwhelmed trying to manage everything on my own. Said I thought he was right, that it made sense to give him more authority to handle the financial side of things. That I wanted to sign an expanded POA, full authority, let him take the wheel. He didn't hesitate. His voice actually warmed up. Said that was a great idea. Said he'd take care of everything. Said Carol would be relieved to know I wasn't carrying all this alone. He said that about Carol. We set up a meeting for that Friday at Howard's office. I told Neil it was just a notary appointment, routine paperwork. He said he'd be there at 10. That week I had dinner with Lisa. Just the two of us, at the house. Neil had a work call, she said. She came alone, and we sat in the kitchen and ate the chili I'd made and didn't talk about any of it. She asked how I was sleeping. I said fine. She told me she was glad Neil was helping out, that it made her feel better knowing someone was looking after the details. I looked at my daughter across that table, and I thought about everything I knew and everything she didn't know yet. I didn't say a word. I just told her the chili recipe was her mother's, and she already knew that, and we sat there together for a while after we finished eating. Friday came. Neil showed up at 10 on the dot. That was one thing about him. He was always on time when something was in it for him. He walked into Howard's office in a sport coat and pressed slacks, the kind of outfit that said, "I'm professional but approachable." He had his leather portfolio under his arm. He looked relaxed, confident. He shook Howard's hand, nodded at the woman sitting in the corner with a notepad, a certified court recorder Howard had brought in for documentation, and then he looked at me and smiled. "Dad," he said, "good to see you're doing this, really good." I told him to sit down. Howard's office had a small round table in the corner, 4 chairs, a window that looked out onto the parking lot. Nothing impressive. Neil set his portfolio on the table and glanced at the recorder again, just for a second, then let it go. He'd decided she was just there for the notary work. I told him I wanted to understand the plan before I signed anything. Said Carol always told me to make sure I understood what I was putting my name on. Neil nodded like that was completely reasonable. "Walk me through it," I said. "All of it?" "The line of credit, how the funds move, where they go. I want to hear it in plain language." And he did. He talked for a little over 10 minutes. I didn't interrupt. Howard didn't interrupt. The recorder's pen moved steadily across her notepad the whole time. Neil explained how the LOC would be structured against the house and the land parcel, combined collateral of $590,000, borrowing $200,000 against it. He explained how the funds would transfer into Briggs Financial Group LLC, which he described as an administrative vehicle for handling the transaction. He said it would keep things clean, keep my name out of the direct financial activity, so there was no confusion with my personal taxes. He said the whole thing would be wrapped up within 60 days. After that, the LAC could be quietly paid down and the arrangement dissolved. He made it sound like routine financial housekeeping. Then he said, Carol would have understood this. She was a numbers person. She would have seen it was the smart move. I let that sit for a second. Then I said, Neil, she did see it. He looked at me. I reached into the folder I'd brought and put Carol's notarized statement on the table in front of him. He looked down at it. I watched his face as he read the first paragraph. The confidence didn't disappear all at once. It drained out slowly, the way color leaves a room when the sun goes behind clouds. Howard slid another document across the table, not the expanded PO Neil had come here to collect, a revocation notice. The original power of attorney was revoked this morning, Howard said. Filed with the county clerk at 8 a.m. Everything you just described has been recorded in full. We'll be filing a complaint with the Tennessee Real Estate Commission today and forwarding the documentation to the district attorney's office for review. Neil looked at the revocation notice. He looked at the recorder. He looked at me. This is a misunderstanding, he said. His voice had gone flat. You borrowed against a dying woman's concern for her husband to walk in here with a plan you built before she was in the ground. I said, that's not a misunderstanding. That's a decision you made. He didn't have an answer for that. He picked up his portfolio. He stood up slowly, like a man making sure his legs still worked, and he walked out without another word. I heard his car start in the parking lot about a minute later. Howard poured 2 cups of coffee from that old machine on his credenza. We sat there for a while without talking. Outside, a delivery truck pulled in and backed out. Regular Tuesday morning for everyone else in the world. Carol built this whole thing 8 months before she died. I said, she did. Howard said, she never told me. She didn't want to worry you while she was still here to protect you herself, he said. And she didn't want you to feel like you needed to do something about it before you were ready. I thought about that for a long time on the drive home. The civil case moved faster than I expected. Neil's attorney made 2 attempts to settle low, first at $30,000, then at $55,000. Howard turned both down. 4 months after the meeting in that office, a judge ordered Neil to pay $95,000 in damages. He liquidated a brokerage account and 2 of the cars to cover it. Norman Briggs had his CPA license suspended pending a separate investigation into the LLC structure and its use in prior transactions. The Tennessee Real Estate Commission denied Neil's pending broker license application, which it turned out he'd been working on for over a year, the same year he'd been planning this. Lisa found out the details in pieces. First from me, then from the court filings, then from Neil himself when he finally stopped being able to manage the story he'd been telling her. She called me on a Sunday morning in August. She didn't apologize exactly. I didn't need her to. She just said, "I didn't know all of it, Dad. I want you to know that." I told her I believed her. I did believe her. Carol had believed her too, and Carol was the one who'd been paying attention. What Lisa said next was harder. She said she'd been afraid that if she asked too many questions, Neil would tell her she was being paranoid. That he had a way of doing that, making her feel like her own instincts were wrong. She said she'd been living with that for years and hadn't had a name for it until she started talking to a counselor after everything came out. I didn't say much. I just listened. That was what she needed. She filed for divorce in September. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. Lisa moved into a rental house on the east side of Nashville, about 20 minutes from me. She started over with what she had, which wasn't much after the joint accounts got sorted out. Neil had been spending well beyond what either of them earned for years. The lifestyle they'd built together, the nice neighborhood, the leased cars, the vacations, most of it had been running on debt and optimism and the assumption that my house would eventually solve the problem. It took her a while to see all of that clearly. I didn't push. I just stayed available. She came over for dinner most Sundays through the fall. At first it was quiet. We'd eat, watch a little football. She'd help me clean up and then drive home. We didn't talk about Neil much. We talked about her work, about the house she was renting, about small things. Slowly the dinners got easier. By Thanksgiving she brought a pie she'd made herself, and we sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours just talking, the way we used to before Neil had become the center of every conversation. That was when I told her about the USB drive, the whole thing, start to finish. She sat very still while I talked. When I was done, she asked if she could see the last video file, the one where Carol spoke directly to the camera, the one recorded 6 weeks before she died. I got the laptop. We watched it together. Carol looked tired in that recording, but her voice was steady. She talked about the house, about the land, about wanting me to be taken care of. She didn't say Neil's name. She just said she'd taken steps and that Howard Gaines knew what to do and that she trusted me to figure it out when the time came. When it finished, Lisa didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, she knew I'd married the wrong man, and she never once made me feel stupid for it. That was Carol. She protected the people she loved without making them feel like they needed protecting. I received the full life insurance payout in October, $320,000. No competing claims, no complications. Howard helped me put it into a structure that was clean and protected. The kind of arrangement that doesn't leave gaps for anyone to slip through. I kept the house. I kept the land. I'm still here. In the spring, I started talking to Howard about doing something with a portion of what Carol had left me. Not a large foundation, nothing with a board of directors and a gala fundraiser, just a small fund, practical, direct. Howard connected me with a paralegal named Carolyn Gaines, his daughter, who'd been doing pro bono work for elderly clients dealing with financial manipulation cases. Most of them had no idea what had happened to them until it was too late. Some of them had signed documents they didn't understand because a family member had told them it was routine. Sound familiar? In the first year, we helped 7 families, connected them with attorneys, covered filing fees, helped them understand what a power of attorney actually means and what rights they don't give up by signing one. Nothing dramatic, just people who needed someone in their corner who knew how the paperwork worked. Carol spent the last year of her life building something to protect me. The least I could do was make sure it kept going. The Craftsman toolbox is still on the workbench in the garage. I cleaned it up, oiled the hinges, organized the tools by size the way her father used to keep them. I'm not donating it. I open it sometimes when I'm out there working, not looking for anything, just to see it sitting there. The yellow sticky note I kept in the desk drawer where Carol used to keep her personal things. It's starting to curl at the edges. I don't touch it much. I just know it's there. Gerald, watch this when you're alone. All of it. I love you. She knew before she even got sick that something was coming, and instead of falling apart about it, she built a plan, found the right people, documented everything, and trusted me to hold up my end when the time came. I almost didn't, but she believed I would. That's the part that stays with me. If you've read this far, here's what I want to say directly to you. If you're a man who's worked for 30 or 40 years building something, a house, a business, a retirement account, anything, pay attention to who gets comfortable around your assets when things get hard. Not every threat comes from a stranger. Some of them have been sitting at your Thanksgiving table for years, calling you dad and waiting for the right moment. You don't have to be paranoid. You don't have to turn your family into suspects, but you do have to know what you've signed. You have to know what a power of attorney actually authorizes. You have to know where your documents are and who has access to them. The men who get taken aren't stupid. They're tired and they're grieving, and someone they trusted used that window. Carol closed that window for me before I even knew it was open. Not every man is that lucky, but every man can decide right now to pay attention. That's all I've got. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And stay for the next one, because what happens when the people who thought they were taking everything finally have to face what they've done is a story worth hearing.